There is no excuse for there to be fights after a game on a football field. Let me start with that when we're talking about what happened. If you don't know about the Michigan-Ohio State situation, Ohio State lost to Michigan. It is a disgraceful loss for Ohio State. It's a huge win for a program, Michigan, where without Harbaugh, who's now coaching the Chargers, they had stumbled and bumbled their way to a mediocre season. Ohio State had illusions of CFP dominance, maybe even a national championship. And that's it. Michigan won, Ohio State lost, game over, whatever. There's a new thing that's going on, and it's happened North Carolina State. It happened Arizona State, BYU, Houston, Texas A&M came close. North Carolina State. There's this thing that's happening that after a game, the winning team, if they win on the road, they take their school flag, state flag, team flag, pride flag, any flag, and they take it. And for whatever reason, instead of stomping on the opposing team's logo in the middle of the field, they decide to plant a flag in the middle of the opposing team's field. Like, this is my house. Obviously, this goes back to ancient Wild Wild West times. We planted a flag, a stake, not the EAK kind, the AKE kind. And this is our place now. So don't bother me. Oh, you've got a gun and a bow and arrow? All right, we're about to die. You can have your land back. This is not those times anymore. That's not really how it works unless you're the government with eminent domain and you're trying to build a freeway in Florida. Other than that, you generally don't need to put a flag down. There's a legal way that you can get access to land, and then it becomes yours, and you can stop trespassers with reasonable force. For whatever reason, in sports, people take it very personally when you lose a game at home and then the opposing team wants to stake its flag on your home turf. And so what do is they fight. They run up there and they grab the flag. That's what the Ohio State players did. Then before you know it, there's a full melee. There's a full brawl going on. I couldn't find in any of the tapes. And I looked on Twitter, I looked on X, I looked on Blue Sky, I looked on Red Sky and Pink Sky and Green Sky and Coca Sky. Couldn't find coaches. The only thing I found were security, police, who were on the field after a game because they escort the coaches to meet each other. Then they escort the coaches off the team. I think it's really great that college students like to rush the field. Hate it. Shouldn't allow it. Maybe netting is required around the entire stadium. But be that as it may, I'm not a big fan of the goalposts being torn down and walked through a city and thrown in the river. I'm just not a fan of it. But in this case, the fight that was going on between Michigan and Ohio State, it caused the police who were on duty. Keep in mind, the police on duty inside a stadium are being paid time and a half. They are overtime cops. The yellow security guards, the yellow jackets, I'm saying that because that was CSC, but whatever color is of the coat that is worn by the in-stadium security, not uniformed police officers. In-stadium security is who you pay as the team, home team, to secure the players, the fans, etc. All of a sudden, there's pepper spray being used. Pepper spray being used against players, pepper spray being used that somehow got into the eyes of people who were not even players, who were members of the media. Look at this video that Coca has if you're watching this, and I'll describe it if you're listening to this. This is video of what happened when the flag was planted, and this was video taken by our very own Rose at Meadowlark, who ended up getting pepper sprayed herself, which, by the way, caused a whole litany of conversations that needed to take place this weekend. Having to make sure that our employee was protected, making sure the company's protected, figuring out what's next, what happened, what do we do, what procedures need to be put in place for protection of our employees and protection of media people in general. There will be an inquiry. I assure you of that. There will be consequences because of the actions of the police inside the Ohio State Stadium. What the NCAA did, boy, this was big. They said, hey, we're not going to really do anything. Big Ten, you got this, don't you? Big Ten was like, oh, man, we're on it. We got you covered. We're going to fine Ohio State and Michigan $100,000. It's like finding a baseball player $500 for a uniform violation, and they pay it in advance and laugh in your face. $100,000 is what you're finding in a brawl that took place after a game that had pepper spray involved? Is that the best you got, Big Ten? Are you worried about Ohio State and Michigan as two huge members of your Big 18? Are you worried? I know the commissioner of the Big Ten. He's a really good, important guy, smart as can be. Just throwing it out there. Is this like an opening salvo? Is this the beginning? There's going to be suspensions later? Or are we okay with brawling after a game? Here's what you do after you win a game. If I'm the coach, athletic director, general manager, president of the university, I've got an idea. When we win a big road game, I want to salute our fans who traveled as we walk off the field. I'm going to tip my cap to them, hold my hand to my heart, and say, bless you. Thank you so much for coming to the game and traveling all this way. We're now going to go to the clubhouse to celebrate. You go ahead and celebrate safely on your own. If you are the home team and you win a big game, look around at your fans. You maybe want to do a lap, do some high fives, and then walk off the field. If you lose the game as a road team, do me a favor. Get off the field. You lost the game. Go to your clubhouse. This video is an example of a team going crazy. It's absurd what Michigan did. It's absurd how the Ohio State players reacted, and it is criminal what the police did in that instance. All of those things happen to be true. There's one thing I can tell you that is almost guaranteed. You cannot, as the NCAA or the Big Ten, allow this situation to go unchecked, and checking it is not a $100,000 fine. There will be more statements. There'll be more comments. There'll be more punishments. There have to be. Because think about the seriousness of the media or the coaches or the students or the fans, some of whom have permission to be on the field, some of whom don't, getting hurt, pepper sprayed, trampled.